Hi guys, it's Carol from Cape Cod Cottage Garden, and today we're going to try to figure out if I can save this pathetic orchid. So come along. So this is the most pathetic houseplant I have. It is an orchid. I didn't know anything about orchids, so obviously I was doing everything wrong. So let me just point out some of the things that's going wrong with this orchid. I don't know if I'm going to be able to save this, but I got to give it a try. First of all, orchids like to have a lot of airflow around their roots. And if you can see, this is a glass container. There's no water, there's no holes for the water to drain out, and there's no way that air is getting easily to these roots. So what I was doing, not knowing any better, is I was just, once in a while, just put some water in it and leave it. And all that's gonna do is have the roots rot. So this plant might be a goner. It did have 2 leaves on it. I've never seen it flower. One of the leaves did fall off, but as you can see, I have this little baby coming on the side. So there is hope, I think. Slim chance, but hope. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm obviously gonna get it out of this container and into a container that's more appropriate, like this. This has air holes in the sides, air holes all on the bottom. Let me take the price tag off. And I like that it's semi-clear, so I'll be able to see what's going on with the water level, with the roots. You can see my fingers through pretty easily, okay? So first things first is deciding on which size pot to use. So I bought 2 pots, this and this. So I really think that this one is way too big. So there's probably a good inch and a half all the way around this plant. And what orchids don't like is they don't like to sit in wet. So they don't like too much moisture. So if I pot this up, it's gonna have all this sphagnum moss and other things around those roots, holding in lots of moisture, probably more moisture than it needs. So I think I'm gonna go with this pot. It's just a little bit bigger all the way around. And I think that might be the perfect size to give this plant a good chance at growing. So first things first, I have to get it out of here without damaging the roots. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna soak it, submerge it, so everything softens a little bit, and then I'm gonna clear away all this old medium that this plant is sitting in now. So let me go ahead and get something to put this in and just let it soak for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll be back. So I've placed the orchid in a bowl of warm water. One of the misconceptions about orchids is that you can water them by just sticking an ice cube on top once a week or so to feed the orchid. So people think that, to water the orchid, so people think that orchids like cold water. That is not in fact true. They would prefer room temperature or warmer water when you're watering. The reason why people recommend putting an ice cube on top is that will just make it's kind of a user-friendly way to water them so you don't overwater them, because that's one of the big problems with orchids is they're being overwatered. The roots really like a lot of airflow. They don't like to sit in wet, as I mentioned before. So while we're waiting for this to soak, just so it will soften the medium that it's in so I can easily take the medium away from the roots, let's talk about a few misconceptions about orchids. Excuse me. Like I said before I started to try to save this, I knew nothing. I was actually doing everything wrong. But one of the misconceptions is that they don't flower every year, and that is in fact not true. Orchids will flower, most orchids will flower every year, and sometimes they can stay in flower for 3 or 6 months or even more. So I feel like that's a great bang for your buck to have a flower that will bloom that long. Some of the reasons why an orchid might not flower when you bring it home is it needs to get used to the environment that it's now currently living in. So sometimes like the first year, it might not flower, just getting used to its new surroundings, the new humidity level, etc. But most of the time it's user error. People like water them too much, or they don't get enough light, or all those factors come into play. Another misconception about orchids is that people think they need to be in a really hot environment, and that is not true. They actually prefer cooler temperatures like under 80 degrees. They don't need like to be in 90-degree heat, so they really can acclimate to a regular household temperature really well. Another misconception is that people think orchids need very high humidity in order to thrive, and that's not true. Ideally for orchids, they like 60 to 70% humidity. which is actually higher than we have in our homes. Most households are around 50% humidity, and most orchids will do fine, which is that 50% humidity. So let's go over some of the things you're going to need if you're going to attempt this. I have just I put down this mat here because my grow room is not set up here on Cape yet, and I don't want to get dirt all over my kitchen table. So I have this little mat underneath just to protect my table. I have like a little cookie sheet to collect the dirt droppings, so it'll just be easy to remove. I took a few of my little planting tools, thought maybe to try to pry out some of the medium from between the roots. I have my little plant tweezers. I have the small little plant clippers. I have a little brush in case I want to try to dust away some of the medium. And I have this little spade to maybe try to maneuver the plant out. I mean, you can use anything from your house. You don't need these things. I just happen to have this little cheap set from Amazon on hand, so I thought I'd give it a try. Oh, of course, I forgot the medium. What I bought for the medium is sorry, my camera angle was bad, but I got this Espoma organic orchid mix. There are all different kinds of orchid mixes you can find on the internet. Some of it is very specialized to each type of orchid, etc. I didn't want to go through the hassle of trying to find the correct medium and all that because I'm not 100% hopeful for this plant. So I'm just going to give it a go, and I think this is a really good company. I mean, I'm not sponsored obviously in any way, but I've always had good luck with this Espoma, so I'm going to go ahead and use this orchid mix. So, all right, now let's see if we can get this baby out of the pot. I may have to break this glass pot, but let's see. Let me jump the water out first. That might help. Okay, come on. Can I get it out? Ooh, some movement, gently. The problem with this pot too is, as you can see, it's rounded, so it's fatter down here and it's smaller at the top, so it is a little bit hard to get it out. Ooh, that wasn't too bad. One step, success, okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna look at all the roots. Actually, I am shocked because these roots, at least on the outside, feel healthy. So what you want to look for a healthy root is, it doesn't have to be green. The only reason these roots on the outside are green is because the sunlight got to them. It's okay if your roots are white or yellow, whatever. But what you want to see is firm roots, and these are all firm. You can see there's a little bit like this one root right here at the top, right here, is kind of gushy, so I'll probably clip that off. So what I'm going to do now is just try to pull all the medium away from this root ball without damaging it too much. This might take a while, so I'll probably have to fast forward, but right now it's coming out pretty easily. Wow, I thought these were going to be all rotten, but so far so good. And now that I'm looking at this, it's mostly sphagnum moss. I can't speak. And why can't I speak? And sphagnum moss holds a lot of water. Look, that's too much. You want a good mix of like bark mulch or some kind of like woody texture and sphagnum moss. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I don't know if it's going to show up, but I can actually see the remnants of the little mesh pot that this was grown in. The original medium. See it right there? Okay guys, this is the finished product. I got all of the sphagnum moss out and the little pot that it was growing in. Now what you want to do is you want to feel the roots all the way down. And if you feel like the ends, anything that's mushy like this, you can clip that off. All these have to be clipped off. Most of these roots, I would say 98% of these roots are really healthy. Even though some of them look yellow, like I told you before, just because they weren't exposed to light, so they didn't photosynthesize and turn green. These are all still healthy. They're nice and firm. This one, if you follow it down, very hard to see. If you follow it down to the end right here, it's kind of yucky. So I'll clip that off. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Clean your tools. Just gonna clip that right there. And like the ends of this one is a little yucky. So go around your whole plant and just clip off anything that looks like mushy and dead. That can come off. Whoop, flying everywhere. This one can go. This one, right at the crown here. The other thing is where, let me just finish doing this. This one. So basically it was just the ends of some of the roots that looked bad. That's all good. That's still good. I think that looks pretty good. The other thing, as you can see, is I have this where all of these were attached. I'm going to try to peel some of that away to make sure that the root of this plant isn't, the base of this leaf isn't like rotted. We can cut that stem off because that is an old shoot. I think I have to soak it a little to get this off. Oh no, it's coming off. I just want to make sure the base of this isn't rotted, which it could be. Oh, it feels pretty firm. A big problem with orchids is that people will water them from the top, and if water seeps into these little holes and collects, folks, I am having camera issues, so I'm using Mr. Hubby's iPhone to video this, so I hope it's okay, the quality. So what I was saying is if water gets in here, if you water from the top, you can rot out this plant really quickly, so always just water, not the leaves, obviously. All right, so it's time to repot. Look at all this stuff I got on this one little pot. So I have my pot, I have my plant, and I have my mix. If you look at this mix, let me show you. It's big pieces of bark with dirt in between, not a lot of sphagnum moss. So I hope this works out okay. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little bit in the pot. It's mostly just bark. I hope this works okay. Hang on one second. I want to make sure that this bag didn't settle and all the dirt's on the bottom, so hold on. So what I ended up doing is dumping the whole bag out into a bucket, and now I can get to like the mix better. So you can see it's better, it's more mixed now. So I'm just gonna move all the medium to the side a little bit, place my plant inside. Try that again. I'm gonna put my plant in and then add the medium around. Kind of just work the pieces in. This is like really large pieces of bark. Kind of wonder if I should have got a finer mix. But it will have to do for now. You don't want to like pack it in. You want to have a lot of airflow around the roots. I think that's gonna do it, just like that. Now I'm just gonna water it in and see if this works. We'll see. Fingers crossed. So that's gonna about do it for repotting this orchid. I was really pleasantly surprised at how healthy that the roots looked. I'm a little disappointed in how chunky this medium is for such a small plant. I'm just gonna keep an eye on it, and I might have to water it just a little bit more because there is no sphagnum moss holding any moisture in this medium. It's mostly just bark mulch. But I'll keep an eye on it. I'll keep you guys updated, see how it does. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.